I'm at Glaeser, and I study the economics of cities. I'm passionate about cities because for millennia they've been the places where humanity has created magical things. They're the places where human beings create these collaborative chains of creativity, from Athenian philosophy to Facebook. And cities are only becoming more important over time. In the developing world, we've recently passed this momentous halfway point where more than 50% of humanity now lives in cities. And it's hard not to think that on net, that's a good thing. Because when you compare those countries that are more than 50% urbanized to those countries that are less than 50% urbanized, the more urbanized countries have, on average, incomes that are 5 times as high and infant mortality levels that are less than 1/3. You know, 30 years ago when I started working in this area, the cyber seers and the techno prophets predicted that new technologies were going to make face-to-face contact and the cities that enable that contact obsolete. They predicted that we were all going to telecommute in from whatever electronic cottages we like to live in, and that we'd all surround ourselves by nature, and yet that's not what happened. And I think what they missed is what globalization and new technologies have also done is they've radically increased the returns to being smart and the returns to innovation, because you can now produce things that are made on the other side of the planet, and we innovate by learning from people around us. We've also created a more complicated world, and the more complicated an idea is, the easier it is for that idea to get lost in translation. Hence, the more valuable it is to be face-to-face. Anyone who's ever taught knows the hard part about teaching is not knowing your subject material. It's knowing whether or not anything you're saying is getting through. Face-to-face contact makes that easier. Cities make that easier. And in some sense, that's what I care most about cities, because they're about humanity. They're about making us more human. They're about empowering people to find a path out of poverty into prosperity. They're about transforming humanity. Now, when I think about cities and when I think about the great challenges of the 21st century, and really, I can't think of anything that is more important to be working on today. We've got to remember that cities also have downsides as well as upsides, and those downsides are terrible, but they're also fascinating, and I believe that they're also curable. You know, just think about the transmission of things within cities. On the one hand, cities enable the flow of goods, they enable the flow of markets, they enable the flow of ideas, but they also enable the flow of bacteria, the flow of disease. Crowding lots of people onto a city street can create a bump rate, can create the flow of new information, but it also can make traffic congestion a real pain in the neck. Right? Urban density also facilitates crime. And what cities need is better help managing the downsides of density, the demons that come when people crowd into dense urban areas. And I know the tendency is often in many parts of the developing world to look at the downsides of urban density and just say, boy, wouldn't it be better if we just restricted poor people to live in farms, to stop urban growth, to make sure we just don't build so that people can't come. Country after country has followed a policy like that. But there's no future in rural poverty. Right? Cities can be terrible, but they're also the best chance for humanity. So the challenges are enormous, but the upside is great. And as a result, I'm really delighted. I really couldn't be more pleased with the fact that I've had a chance to spend my life devoted to trying to understand cities better and trying to work to improve them. And I hope you'll join me in thinking about cities and also working for their betterment. Because the betterment of cities is also the betterment of all mankind.